to take a look at the top 10 characters for the month of January 2001. My first top 10 list of 2021. I want to wish everyone a positive outlook for 2021. I know it's going to be a good one, better than 2020 for sure. And I just wanted to give a shout out to everyone that liked last month's video. Always one of my most liked videos. Thank you very much for liking last month's video. Now let's get to the list, and we're going to talk about individual characters, and then also we're going to talk about teams, because for me to talk about Symbiote Spider-Man as being a top 10 character for sure, it'd be hard to not talk about Carnage and Anti-Venom on that list. So in that sense, I want to say that I'm including them as well, but we're specifically going to be talking about Symbiote Spider-Man, easily my favorite of the symbiotes, and makes the top 10 list without a doubt, because symbiotes and Symbiote Spider-Man are the kings of, or the queens, the kings and queens of raids and Dark Dimension. Vital, important team. Very important team in this game. Easily makes this list. Now, I did take Symbiote Spider-Man to Gear Tier 15, and I will be using him in Dark Dimension 4. Very helpful in 2 and 3. Getting a ton of use out of him every single day in raids. They're pretty much my go-to raid team. I could put them on autoplay. And then they also are very good on offense and Alliance War, countering some of the best teams in the game without a doubt. Probably one of my favorite teams of all time for sure. It would be a mistake to not talk about Symbiote Spider-Man. I did all the T4s on him just because I use him so much, and I use Raider ISO 8 on him because of trying to apply the vulnerables, and there's a pretty good stat boost on the Raider class, which I like getting. Let's move on to number 2 on the list is Mr. Sinister. And Mr. Sinister has made a resurgence of late because of his usefulness in Dark Dimension 4. Also, I want to bring out that his clone mechanic on Mr. Sinister, I believe, is going to be a very good ability long term. Let's just take, for example, Doom. Doom, there's a handful of players that have Doom right now, but Doom is going to become a thing, and Mr. Sinister can clone Doom. Think about that. Being able to clone the next best thing, you know, because there's going to be something better than Doom someday. Right now, Doom is probably the best character in the game, and there's going to be something else later. Well, guess what? Mr. Sinister is going to be kind of inflation-proof or future-proof or power creep-proof, just because he's going to be able to clone them. Easily makes the top 10 list. Mr. Sinister is red and gold star dependent because the stats of the clone scale off of that. I mean, the clone doesn't have full stats, but it does. The red stars and the power level of the Mr. Sinister absolutely does matter. And I did all the T4s on him other than his basic. Next on the list is Black Bolt, and I debated not putting Black Bolt on the list. No, that's not true. Of course, Black Bolt is going to make the list. That being said, my enthusiasm and hype for Black Bolt over the last 6 months has been over the top. He's easily one of my favorite characters. I'm finding I don't use him as much anymore. He's slowly being phased out. He's still quite good. But I want to say this. The main thing about Black Bolt is that I go into withdrawals if I don't play with him because of this ping or the burp, right? And when an enemy drops below 25% health, it's like I'm playing on a team. I do an AoE and I see some characters pop into red and I'm cool. Black Bolt's going to ping them and they're going to be dead. It's like, oh, I'm not playing with Black Bolt. Just for that reason alone, he'll probably make the top 10 list for a long time. Can't talk about Black Bolt without talking about Yo-Yo, which probably also could have made the list because of her persistent offense down. I do think Yo-Yo is a function of Black Bolt. They pair up very well. Huge fan of Black Bolt, but I'm just finding I'm not using him as much. Like, I don't really use him in raids anymore because I've got symbiotes. But I do use him in RTA when I'm trying to destroy the other team, although RTA has a interesting dynamic. And we're going to talk about RTA more a little bit later on the list when we get to some other characters. But Black Bolt, sure, is on the list. But I don't want to place him in the top 5 anymore. He might be on the low. He's moved down on the list is what I'm trying to say. Still a very amazing character. All right, let's go and talk about the next character on the list is HELA. Now, I do want to say that the ASGARDIAN team has dropped off in usefulness in war, but I don't want to say anything bad about HELA. I think HELA and Loki will stay duo, and they will be repositioned into some other team that'll optimize her Death Knives ability, which spreads negative effects across the team, which is quite good with ability block or blind or whatever you want to use. It's or even defense down, which is the primary function with both Loki. That being said, the reason why we have to talk about HELA is not only is she an amazing character herself, and I'm going to be taking her up to 15 for Dark Dimension 4. I got amazing use out of her in Dark Dimension 3. Her Undead Asgardian, or we call him Greg, is amazing. There's actually a use for him in the current version of RTA where the best strategy is to get as many abilities off. I mean, I had a situation where I just targeted my opponent's Greg over and over again, and he played along. We just did that for the full 5 minutes, got off all my abilities, done with that character, and that was a good day, right? This guy's amazing. So Undead Asgardian is reason number 2. There's 5 reasons why HELA is good. HELA is good. Undead Asgardian's good. Reason number 3 is Black Bolt's good. Reason number 4 is Phoenix is good. And reason number 5 is Ebony Maw is good. That's right. HELA is an important character to unlocking 3 legendary characters. She's a vital character in this game to play and progress your roster, because the game is pretty much all about legendaries, and HELA is directly the path to Black Bolt, when Black Bolt is the path to Ebony Maw, and then Villain Mystic Controllers, which HELA and Loki are, is the direct path to Phoenix. And so Black Bolt, Ebony Maw, and Phoenix are all on this list. And so that is that. If HELA was terrible, she probably would still make the list, but the thing is, she's not terrible because of her Greg and the abilities. She does a lot of damage too. Anyways, one of my favorite characters. Only sad thing I could say about HELA is the Asgardians pretty much have been countered by symbiotes, and so they're not as effective on war, but I think the combo of Loki and HELA will be good for a long time. Ebony Maw. I put Ebony Maw on the list. Now, you're going to say, why did I use Thanos? I could have put Thanos on the list, but I think it's more important to talk about Ebony Maw, because Ebony Maw is a vital character for Dark Dimension 4 and 3. He's a useful standalone character at RTA, more so than even Thanos. Now, Black Order is the best complete team in the game. They are dominant in the arena. There's no dispute about this. They are going to be dominant inside of Alliance War. I mean, this is just like, yes, right? And so when I bring up Ebony Maw, I'm also talking about the entire faction, of Black Order and Empowered Thanos. They're the best. But Ebony Maw as a standalone character has the most viability outside of the team out of all the characters. And even in raids, the pairing up Ebony Maw with Thanos is a good idea quite often. Love doing that. Easily makes this list. And boy, Ebony Maw is something, that's for sure. You can see here I did all the T4s. I don't think you really need the passive, but I use him so much because the decisions for me to put T4s on characters is they do anything at all is one of the things that I say on the on the T4, but mostly it's like, how much do I use this character? That really is the most important thing when it comes to this list and allocating resources to characters. How much do I use them and where do I use them? And this is a character that I use everywhere. Primarily, right now in Arena, the Arena is all about Black Order, and Black Order. Let's go. Next on the list is Phoenix. Phoenix is an amazing character, was the best character in the game for a long time. Ebony Maw, if we back up and talk about Ebony Maw is a counter to Phoenix, and then we could also back up and talk about Black Bolt. But Black Bolt's a counter to Ultron, but Phoenix is a standalone character, and I'm getting a ton of use out of her. An RTA, if and when I want to get knockouts. Now, they keep changing the terms of the real-time arena. Last month, it was based off of knockouts. This one is just based off of abilities. So Phoenix usefulness, as far as that goes, is not as big of a deal unless you just want to get knockouts. Now, if you're in a stage in the game where you're just trying to get off abilities, Phoenix is not going to serve you well. That being said, Phoenix is not that great inside of raids because she dies and she turns into the Dark Phoenix. The summon right here, of course, is what makes her so amazing. This is where she gets scary and just blows up everybody. It's absolutely terrifying, Phoenix, when she AoEs and kills everybody. But she's also the queen of Dark Dimension 3. And for the longest time, there really was no way of beating the global nodes in Dark Dimension 3 without Phoenix. There are some new characters that are allowing us to go through Dark Dimension 3 without Phoenix, but Phoenix definitely makes that for a better experience, even with this new team that we're going to talk about a little bit here on the list. Easily makes this list top 10, only legendary character that is a 6-star unlock, villain, mystic controllers, and what there's just not enough good things I could talk about. Phoenix. Let's move on, and we're going to talk about Baron Zemo. Now I want to say Baron Zemo's fringe, and I decided to put Zemo on this list, but I actually was debating taking him off. The usefulness of Baron Zemo is going to be determined by how RTA is structured going forward. Last month, it was structured off of knockouts. This month, it is off of character abilities. And basically, he's actually counterproductive on the current format and not useful because there's no reason to win in the current format. But last month, you definitely wanted to get knockouts, and Baron Zemo was the king of RTA. In fact, he's actually quite unfun to play against, especially if you're going into a match with two lower-powered characters because you're required to get abilities off, and your opponent brings in Zemo, and they die before they get to go because he's quite fast. That being said, outside of RTA and Alliance War, Baron Zemo is quite good. He's almost like a standalone army and just kills teams. Of course, he makes the other Hydra good, but the Hydra people aren't good. Zemo is what's good. Destroying Nick Fury's Shield teams, destroying Red Skull teams, and potentially doing very well against mercenaries. Pretty much anti-minions forever is what we have right here with Baron Zemo. But I was reluctant to put him on this list, but he's worth mentioning. Also, I'm getting use out of him in Dark Dimension 3, although I don't want to encourage people to do him for actually Dark Dimension 4, but Dark Dimension 3, I don't know how helpful he is. He's not really a raid character. He's not really a Dark Dimension character. He's definitely more of a single match, PvP type god, if you will. Let's move on. Invisible Woman. I didn't want to put her on the list either. I was torn on putting her on the list. But let's just put her on the list for two reasons. I am going to use her in Dark Dimension 4, and also I think she's going to have an extended shelf life because of Doom. I think there's a couple characters that are going to have an extended shelf life for Dr. Doom. Just speculation, but we don't know what the perfect Dr. Doom team is yet. But if we were to guess, probably includes Emma, Mr. Sinister, Black Bolt, and Invisible Woman. And the reason why Invisible Woman is going to make the list is because she has some synergy with Dr. Doom and the Fantastic Four tag. And I'm going to use her in Dark Dimension 4. But I don't use her that much. I don't know why it was really hard for me to put her on the list. So I just want to say that there's some characters that were no-brainers to put on the list. She was definitely on the edge. Now this character, Emma Frost, is a no-brainer. She might even be, I don't know how high she's on the list, top 5, top 3 character in the game. My goodness, she's the best. Everything she does right here. Minus 10% speed. This heal, there's 2 different ISO 8s you could use on her. I think heal if you want to be annoying in Alliance War. Also, healer seems pretty good in RTA if you're trying to draw out the match. I use Emma Frost all the time to draw out the match. She slows down your opponents, which is vital. She blows up the other team, like not a problem. She clears negative effects. And then with the strike, the reason why I do striker on this is because if you go into a vulnerable target, you basically get this twice, which is kind of good. You can strip away positive effects twice with the striker ISO 8. So I think there's 2 good ISO 8s on her. And of course, I did all the T4s just because I use her every day, always, everywhere. And I think she's going to be a staple for a long time. Next on the list is Ghost. Ghost I didn't really want to put on the list, but I want to talk about Ghost because there's some one of the questions I keep getting all the time is how can I beat Dark Dimension 3 without Phoenix? Well, there's a team using Ghost, Mr. Sinister, Emma, Black Widow, and Hawkeye. Now I think the team would be better with Phoenix one way or another. But if you want to have a team where people are one-shotting nodes in global, it is a thing using Ghost. How is Ghost vital and required for Dark Dimension 4? Well, she's very useful, I'll tell you that. She's definitely an amazing... She's pretty much only a Dark Dimension character. 2, 3, 4 probably will be amazing in Dark Dimension 5, 6, and 7, right? So I want to put her on the list because of that. But am I getting used with her outside of Dark Dimension? Kind of. I don't know. Maybe a little bit. Still really haven't found a good home for her in an Alliance War. I mean, I think these hybrid teams and theory crafting going forward is going to be a thing for Alliance War. I'm calling it right now. Hybrid teams are going to be a thing in Alliance War going forward. Because before we were just using cookie cutter, but now that we have too many options, we're going to get a lot more hybrids going forward. The next 6 months in Alliance War is all going to be about hybrids, is what I'm thinking. And I'm pretty sure Ghost will fit into some sort of hybrid somewhere. That'll be seen. Then, of course, she's used in Gamma, but that's just because they forced us to. So I wanted to talk about her. I don't know if she's a top 10 character, but she's definitely important in the conversation of Dark Dimension. Let's move on. MINN-ERVA. MINN-ERVA's fallen off of this list, but I continuously come back to her. I've been using her a lot in RTA lately for those sustain teams to get all the abilities off, just because she revives and heals, and she very passively keeps the match drawn out as long as possible. The current form of RTA is to draw the match out as long as possible on autoplay, and MINN-ERVA does that easily. Also, she seems to be a vital character in all modes of Dark Dimension. She was the queen of Dark Dimension 2, vital in Dark Dimension 3, and also incredibly useful in Dark Dimension 4. I will be taking her to 15, so she definitely needs an honorable mention to be on this list. The problem I have with MINN-ERVA is that she might be phasing out, but she don't need any T4s on her, which is something I love about her. Don't need enough T4s on her, but you really got to level her up quite a bit to get her with a high enough health pool to make the most use out of her passive on enemy death, which is very good at extending the sustain. Next on the list is ULTRON. Do I have to say anything about ULTRON? I think ULTRON's going to be good for a long time. And the other thing, too, is ULTRON doesn't have any red stars. And as soon as ULTRON gets red stars, he's going to be important again. What if they just put ULTRON just randomly in red stars? Not boosted drop rates or none of that. You just had to get him by opening red stars. I could see that being something they just do one day to incentivize people opening red stars and just to maybe get him randomly. Because at some point, it seems like we're all just hoarding our red stars. We'll have to see. I'm not using him in Dark Dimension at all. He's still a good character. I just had to put him on this list just because, I feel like it'd be wrong not to put him on them. I do use him in one of the Greek raids because of his tech trait. Lastly, we're going to talk about Dr. Doom. And to the extent of how broken Dr. Doom is going to be remains to be seen. But there's no way that he can't be on the list. He is, of course, the Chase in Dark Dimension 4. And whether or not he holds on defense in Arena remains to be seen. I believe that there is an optimal team that has not been discovered. But I don't think that Scopely would release such a expensive, coveted character as a Chase for Dark Dimension 4 without him being amazing. Only a handful of people have him in the game currently right now, so stay tuned so that we can have more information, but there's no doubt in my mind he's the best character in the game without a doubt. I think it's a no-brainer. All right, let me know what you think. I think there was a bunch of characters that I left off the list that I could have put on the list, but I had to kind of give some honorable mentions in here to stretch the list because I feel like RTA is kind of a strange thing right now on what is good. In the knockout format, vital characters in the knockout format would have been like Phoenix and ZEMO. And then in the sustain format, which we're in now, then vital characters suddenly become Emma and MINN-ERVA. And even Shuri, right? Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm still not a fan of RTA. Probably going to say that in almost every video for a while. All right, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section. And as always, thanks for watching. And let's listen to some Crab Rave. Let's go. Woof. Let's go.